Welcome back to the Deep Dive. It is Thursday, February 5th, 2026.
Yeah,
And I have to say, looking at the national map today, it feels a bit like looking at a split screen of two different planets.
it really does.
Depending on where you're tuning in from, you might be rummaging for your flip-flops, or you might be wondering if your furnace can legally file for overtime pay. It is just disjointed out there.
Disjointed is the perfect word for it. I mean, we are living through a classic textbook example of a tale of two winters.
Right.
The atmospheric flow is buckled in such a specific way that we have these, extreme opposites happening at the exact same time.
So you have people walking dogs in T-shirts in the Southwest.
While the Northeast is bracing for something that looks physically painful on the charts, it's a wild contrast.
And that's really our mission for this deep dive.
Yeah.
We aren't just here to tell you, bring an umbrella or wear a coat. We want to unpack the why behind this chaos. Because looking at the data you've sent over, this isn't just a static situation. We are standing on the precipice of a massive pattern change. The sources are calling it the flip.
It is a major flip, and to really understand it, we have to look at the mechanics, not just the little temperature icons on your phone app.
So we've got a roadmap for today. We're going to break this down into three distinct acts.
Okay.
First, we have to deal with the immediate danger, and I don't use that word lightly, the Arctic hammer that's about to drop on the Northeast and Midwest this weekend.
Right, the immediate threat.
Second, we'll pivot west, where it's warm, but definitely not calm. And then Act 3, next week. The pattern shifts, we get this false spring, and then things might get explosive around Valentine's Day.
There is a lot to synthesize here. It's a really complex interaction between high-pressure ridges and these low-pressure troughs, and the timing of it all is, well, it's everything.
Let's start right here, right now. Thursday morning, I'm looking at the satellite imagery you shared, and I just see this northerly flow dominating the entire eastern half of the country. It looks like a funnel pouring straight down from the Arctic.
It effectively is. Right now, the atmosphere is locked. We have this massive ridge of high pressure just sitting over California and the interior west. That's your heat bubble.
Okay.
But downstream from that, in the east, we have a deep digging trough. And sliding down the backside of that trough, coming straight out of Canada, is a system meteorologists call a vigorous clipper.
I've heard the term clipper 1,000 times,
Yeah.
on the news, usually followed by footage of people slipping on sidewalks. But what actually is it? Is it just a fast storm?
A clipper, it's short for Alberta clipper, is a fast-moving, low-pressure system that originates in the lee of the Canadian Rockies, usually in Alberta.
Okay, so it forms over land.
Exactly. And because it forms over land, far away from the Gulf of Mexico or the Atlantic, it's what we call moisture-starved. It doesn't have the fuel to dump 2 feet of snow like a nor'easter. It's dry, it's cold, and it moves incredibly fast.
So a hit-and-run driver.
That's a perfect way to put it. This system is basically nosediving into the Midwest, starting Friday afternoon, February 6th.
Okay, so let's drill down for the commuters. Who is getting hit Friday morning?
If you are in the upper Midwest, so think Milwaukee, Madison, Chicago, Indianapolis, this is your Friday wake-up call.
Right.
Now, don't panic about being buried. The models are showing light to moderate snow. For Chicago, we're talking a dusting, maybe up to an inch or two in some localized spots.
Okay, an inch of snow in Chicago usually just means it's Tuesday. So why is this being flagged as a hazard?
It's the timing and the temperatures. This is hitting right during the Friday morning rush. The ground is already freezing. You put a thin layer of snow on top of frozen asphalt, combined with the fact that clippers often drop temperatures rapidly behind them, and you get these flash freeze conditions.
That deceptive slickness.
Exactly. You think, oh, it's just a dusting, you don't slow down, and then you spin out.
It doesn't look bad, so I'll do 70 miles per hour trap.
Precisely. Now, as that system races southeast into Friday evening, the mechanics change a bit because of the geography. We need to look at the Ohio Valley and the Appalachians.
Okay.
When this very limited moisture hits the mountains, the Smokies, West Virginia, western North Carolina, we get a phenomenon called orographic lift.
Orographic lift. That sounds expensive. Break that down for me.
Think of the wind like a wet sponge. If you just hold the sponge, maybe a little water drips out. That's the snow in Chicago.
Got it. An inch.
But if you smash that sponge against a wall, the wall being the mountains, you wring it out. The air is forced upward really rapidly. It cools, it condenses, and it squeezes out every last drop of moisture it has.
So the mountains basically force the storm to drop its payload.
They do. So while Chicago gets an inch, the higher elevations in West Virginia or the Smokies could see 8 to 12 inches of snow from this same moisture-starved system.
Wow, that's a huge difference.
It is. And we're also watching for snow squalls in the Ohio Valley, Ohio, Kentucky, Pennsylvania. These are like summer thunderstorms, but with snow. Visibility can go to 0 in seconds.
That sounds terrifying for highway driving.
Yeah.
But from reading the report, the snow is really just the appetizer, right? The main course is what happens to the air itself.
Oh, the snow is just the opening act. The main event is the Arctic cold front sweeping in Saturday morning. We have a high-pressure system dropping down from Canada that is reading about 134 millibars.
Okay, pause there. 10 and 34 millibars. To a normal person, that's just a number. Is that high? Low? What's the baseline?
That's a great question. Standard sea level pressure is around 10-13 millibars. A hurricane is low pressure down in the 900s where air is rising and light.
Right.
1034 is the opposite. It is a massive, dense dome of air. It is literally heavy. It weighs down on the surface. And because high pressure flows to low pressure and we have a storm departing off the coast, that difference between them, the gradient, is incredibly tight.
And when the gradient is tight, the wind blows.
It howls. We are expecting gusts of 40 to 50 miles per hour along the I-95 corridor, so NYC, Boston, and Philly, starting Saturday morning.
So you take freezing temperatures, add 50-mile-per-hour winds. We need to talk about wind chill. I feel like people think wind chill is just a feeling, but it has real physiological effects, doesn't it?
It's thermodynamics. Your body has a thin layer of heat right next to your skin, sort of an insulating boundary. Wind just strips that away faster than your body can replenish it.
I see.
So at 50 miles per hour, your skin is losing heat as if the air were much, much colder. Let's look at Sunday morning, February 8th, upstate New York, around Albany. The air temp is already below 0. The wind chill could hit minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit.
Minus 40. That feels like a typo.
It's not. And at minus 40, frostbite can occur on exposed skin in under 10 to 15 minutes.
Wow.
Even in the city's NYC, Boston air temps will struggle to reach freezing, but that wind chill will make it feel like 10 to 20 below 0. This isn't put on a hat weather. This is cover every square inch of skin weather.
This sounds like a genuine infrastructure threat, too.
It is. Pipe bursts are a huge risk, especially in older buildings up in the Northeast. And frankly, this is life-threatening for the unhoused population or, anyone stranded in a vehicle.
And I noticed in the agricultural notes that this cold isn't stopping at the Mason-Dixon line. It's pushing all the way down.
It is plunging deep. We have freeze warnings extending into Florida, Alabama, and Mississippi.
Really?
And this matters for 2 reasons. 1, those areas are already soggy from recent floods. That water is going to freeze on roads.
Yeah.
And 2, agriculture. We are talking about potential damage to citrus crops in the Southeast.
Which means we all pay for it at the grocery store next month.
Exactly. A freeze in Florida impacts the orange juice price in Montana. It's all connected.
Speaking of Montana,
Yeah.
if we pivot 180 degrees and look west, it sounds like they're living in a completely different reality.
Completely different. While the east is huddled by the radiator, the west is under that. While that 1034 millibar ridge's warmer cousin...
I'm looking at these stats. Phoenix and Los Angeles in the high 60s and 70s. That sounds nice. But Dallas at 64. Southern Texas nearing 90 degrees in February.
Upper 80s, possibly touching 90 in the Rio Grande Valley. It is surreal. And look at Montana again. I mean, usually February in Montana is peak winter.
Right.
We are seeing forecasts of 60 degrees. That is 20 to 30 degrees above the climatic normal. It's just wild.
So everyone out west is just having a beach day.
Not everyone. And this is the danger of just looking at the temperatures. Warmth does not mean dry. We have to talk about the Pacific Northwest.
Right, the atmospheric river you mentioned.
That high-pressure ridge, it acts like a mountain in the sky. It blocks storms from hitting California, but it forces them to ride up and over the top right into Washington, Oregon, and British Columbia.
I see.
We have a potent system hitting them this weekend.
What kind of volume are we talking about precipitation-wise?
In the mountains, the Cascades, the northern Rockies, we are measuring snow in feet. 2, maybe 3 feet of it. But the problem is the freezing level. Because the air is generally warmer, the snow level is high.
So it's all rain lowered down.
Right. In the lowlands, Seattle, Olympia, it's all rain.
And rain on top of already saturated
It
rain.
leads to flooding, yeah. We're expecting 2 to 4 inches of rain. That will cause ponding on roadways and significant issues for low-lying farms. So if you're in Seattle, don't let the headlines about western warmth fool you. You are going to be soaked.
Okay, so that sets the stage. East is frozen solid. West is hot, but the Northwest is drowning. But the title of this deep dive is The Weather Flip. The sources say something big happens starting February 9th. Walk us through the mechanics of that.
This is where atmospheric fluid dynamics get really fun. We have to look at the Pacific Ocean again. There is a system dropping down from the Gulf of Alaska that the forecast discussions are calling a bowling ball low.
Bowling ball, I'm assuming that refers to the shape.
Yes. On the water vapor imagery, it looks like this tight, compact, spinning sphere of energy. It's distinct and, well, heavy. And it's going to crash into the West Coast early next week.
Okay, so I'm picturing a bowling ball hitting the pins. In the atmosphere, what are the pins? What is this thing hitting?
The pin is that stubborn, high-pressure ridge that's been giving Texas the 90-degree weather. When the bowling ball crashes into California, it physically kicks that ridge eastward.
So the heat gets shoved across the country.
Exactly. The ridge slides into the plains and the Midwest, and simultaneously, the bowling ball sets up shop in the West, bringing colder air with it, so the whole pattern just flips. West goes cold, central U.S. goes warm.
And this brings us the fall spring.
The fall spring, it's cruel, I know, but the data is undeniable. Starting February 9th and 10th, temperatures in the heartland are going to skyrocket.
How much?
Omaha, Des Moines, Kansas City, you're going to see highs in the 60s. That's 30 degrees above normal. The snow from this weekend, it'll be gone in 24 hours.
What about the East Coast? My friends in New York are freezing right now. Do they get the 60s too?
Not immediately, and this is a fascinating little quirk we call the East Coast block.
Is it like a traffic jam?
Think of it more like a bouncer at a club. There is a stubborn trough that's low pressure, just hanging out in the Atlantic Ocean. It's just sitting there.
Okay.
As the warm air tries to push east from Ohio into New York, that Atlantic trough acts like a bouncer standing at the door with his arms crossed, basically saying, "Not tonight."
So the warmth hits a brick wall.
Effectively. So while Iowa is basking in spring fever, New York and Boston will likely stay in the 30s and 40s for a few extra days. The warmth will bleed in eventually, but it won't be that sudden heat wave the plains will feel.
Okay, so the Midwest gets a fall spring. But I'm looking at the long-range notes here, and there's a phrase that makes me nervous. Southwesterly flow. Whenever I hear that in February, it usually means trouble.
Your instincts are spot on. Warmth in February is basically unspent fuel. When that ridge moves east, the winds start pumping from the southwest. That connects the U.S. directly to the Gulf of Mexico.
The moisture hose.
Right. So now you have heat, you have moisture returning, and you have the jet stream screaming overhead. We are looking at the time frame around Valentine's Day, so February 13th and 14th. The models, specifically the GFS and the European model, are hinting at a dynamic storm system developing in the southern plains.
And since we have cold air to the north and warm air to the south, this system is going to be a battleground.
A classic transition season battleground. On the northern side of the low-think upper Midwest, Great Lakes, you have cold air wrapping in. That means snow, sleet, maybe freezing rain, a big travel mess.
And on the southern side.
That's the warm sector, and that's where things get volatile. We're talking East Texas, the I-35 corridor, moving into the Tennessee Valley. We are seeing signals for heavy rain and, more concerningly, severe weather.
Severe weather meaning?
Thunderstorms, hail, and yes, the potential for tornadoes.
Tornadoes in February. I know it happens. We've seen it before. But it's always jarring to hear.
It is. The clash of air masses is at its most violent during these transitions. Now, I need to add a massive caveat here. We are looking 8 to 10 days out. In the weather world, we call this model land.
Model land, where dreams and nightmares are made, but half of them aren't real.
Exactly. The American model, the GFS, might show a massive outbreak while the European model shows a weaker system. The specific track will change 50 times between now and then. But the signal, the ingredients, they're there. The atmosphere is priming itself for a storm.
So if you have Valentine's Day plans in Nashville or Little Rock, don't cancel them, but maybe have a plan B.
Definitely have the weather alerts turned on your phone.
I want to zoom way out for a minute. We've covered the what, the snow, the heat, the storm, but let's talk about the why. In the prep notes, you flag something called teleconnections, the AO and the NAO. This sounds like alphabet soup, but you say this is actually the key to the whole forecast.
It really is. These are indices, they're basically scorecards, that tell us the state of the pressure patterns at the very top of the world. The AO is the Arctic Oscillation. The NAO is the North Atlantic Oscillation.
Okay, break that down. What are they actually measuring?
Think of the Arctic Oscillation, the AO, as a fence around the North Pole. When the AO is positive, the fence is strong. The polar vortex stays locked up north.
Got it.
When the AO is negative, the fence is broken. The cold air spills out into the U.S. and Europe.
And lately, the fence has been broken.
Very broken. That's why we're getting this Arctic hammer this weekend. But, and here is the good news, the long-range ensembles show these indices trending back to neutral or even positive by mid-February.
So the fence is being repaired.
The gate is closing. This gives us high confidence that after this weekend's blast, the deep sub-zero Arctic outbreaks should become less frequent. The warming trend next week isn't just a random blip, it's supported by the global background state.
So winter isn't ending, but the hurt-your-face cold might be done for a while.
Precisely. But again, the trade-off for losing the cold is often gaining the storms. A more fluid, Pacific-driven pattern is usually a much stormier one.
It feels like there's always a price to pay.
In meteorology, there always is.
All right, we've covered a ton of ground. Let's package this up for the listeners so they know exactly what to do.
Sure. Immediate term. Northeast and Midwest. Friday is slick. Saturday and Sunday are dangerous. If you have elderly neighbors, check on them. If you have pets, keep them inside. Pipe protection is critical.
Pacific Northwest.
Don't let your guard down. Just because it's warm doesn't mean it's nice. Prepare for water on the roads and difficult travel over the mountain passes.
And looking ahead to next week.
Enjoy the warmth in the central U.S. Seriously, get outside. But understand that this heat is the battery power for a potential storm system around Valentine's Day. Watch the forecast very closely as we get toward the end of next week.
You know, it really strikes me. We often talk about the weather as just background noise. But a week like this really highlights that the atmosphere is this living, breathing battleground. It's trying to balance itself out, and we're just stuck in the middle.
That's thermodynamics in action. Nature hates an imbalance. It moves heat to where it's cold and cold to where it's hot. We just happen to live in the mixing bowl.
Here's a thought to leave you with today. Next Tuesday, when some of you are feeling that 60-degree breeze in Iowa or that 80-degree sun in Texas, it's going to feel like a gift. It's going to feel amazing. But remember what we talked about. That heat is literally the fuel for the storms lurking 5 days later. So as you soak up the sun, ask yourself, is the warmth worth the risk of what comes next?
That is the eternal question of spring weather.
It certainly is. Stay safe, stay warm, or stay dry, depending on your zip code. We'll be watching the models, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.
Take care, everyone.